Good afternoon, everyone. So today I will discuss to you the continuation sa report ni Danielle, which is ang Rizal's life. But before that, let me introduce myself. I am Aljan Kisagan, the third reporter of this group. So as you can see here, amo ni ang tag-report ni Danielle, ang Rizal as a physician, Rizal as an engineer, Rizal as an agriculturist, and Rizal as an educator. So ang sabdi ang ako, ang Rizal as a businessman, as a inventor, as an artist, as a linguist, as a scientist, and as a civic leader. So I will discuss to you also the Rizal's romantic affair with Josephine Bracken. So si Rizal kuno was quiet the adventurer. Dili ako no siya yung nagsuwat ng mga books, mga novels, but he also tried his hand at business. And Rizal partnered with his friend Ramon Carrion and they engaged into different industries like fishing, hemp, and copra. And so si Rizal, during his exile in Dapitan, nakita ko niya na ang Dapitan was full of fish. And also nakita sa niya na daghay ganing ng mga beaches. And that time, nakahuna na dayon siya na gana kuno kung magtukod ng business, which is ang fishing. And then, para po daw mudabo or mudaghan ang ilang mga kuha ng isda, nag-introduce ni Rizal ang big fishing net or what we call pukutan. So, di ba, katong sa una is ang gamit nila is bingwit, which is ang kahasel kay aside sa dugay, ang gamay ra sa ilang makuha ng isda. Unlike sa pukutan, nadali na, so dabo ang dabo pa ilang makuha. So, yeah.
So now let's proceed to the next one. So si Rizal Cono not just a businessman, but he was also an inventor. So ang iyang nahimo kuno is sulpukan kung sa ato pa posporo. Nakabante ba mo na ang bagaw sa posporo is iyang naong ang nakabutang? Kaya amo dyaon kay si Jabaja ang nakaimbento nandiyaon. And also, dili na kuno kung sulpukan ra ang iyang naimbento, nakahimo po daw siya ng wooden brick maker that could make about 6,000 bricks a day. So, isa na siya ka machine na makahimo daw ng bricks. Kana bitaw kung sa ato pa karon is hollow block. So now let's proceed. So we have here Rizal as an artist. Rizal also had a creative side. He used his artistic talents in Dapitan in many ways. First is nakakontribute siya sa usa ka church sa Dapitan because the Sisters of Charity were preparing for the arrival of the Holy Virgin. So ang iyang gihimo is nag-create siya og model or guide for the artist para makuha niyang specific part of the image, which is ang kadtong Holy Virgin Mary. He essentially provided the design or form for the right foot. He modeled it, meaning he made a sample for them to copy. And also, Rizal loved to sketch anything that caught his eye. He also collected rare animals and fishes. Like, for example, imagine him drawing a beautiful landscape or a unique animal he found. And also, he even made a sculpture called The Mother's Revenge, which was inspired by his dog, Syria. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So, we have here the Rizal as a linguist. Rizal was super interested in languages. Iyang studihan jud ang languages sa dapitan. And iyang gi-compare ang Malayan and Bisayan na language and also dili ra kon Malayan and Bisayan na language ang iyang nahibaw-an but kabalo sab siyang 22 languages including ang Tagalog, Spanish, English, and many more. So, these skills nakatabang jud sa iyahan na communicate with other people from different countries. Okay, so let's proceed to the Rizal as a scientist. Rizal shared his interest with nature to his students. With his boys, they explored the jungles and searched for specimens which he sent to museums in Europe, particularly in Dresde Museum. In return, scientific books and surgical instruments were delivered to him from the European scientists. He also made a bulk of other researches and studies in the fields of ethnography, archaeology, geology, anthropology, and geography. However, Rizal's most significant contribution in scientific world was his discovery of three species or rare frog, Draco rizali or flying dragon, Apogonia rizali or small beetle, and Rhacophorus rizali. Rizal also partook in civic works in Dapitan. Upon arriving in the province, he noticed its poor condition. He drained the marshes of Dapitan to get rid of malaria-carrying mosquitoes. He also provided lighting system coconut oil lamps posted in dark streets in the province out of what he earned from being a physician. He beautified Dapitan by remodeling the town plaza with the aid of its with his Jesuit teacher, Father Francisco Sanchez, and created a relief map of Mindanao or footnote using stones, soil, and grass right in front of the church. So let's move on to Rizal's romantic affair with Josephine Bracken. So Rizal was feeling down because he missed his family and his sweetheart, Leonor Rivera, had passed away. He was a bit lonely. Then this girl, Josephine Bracken, came into his life. She was just 18 years old, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a happy personality. She was like sunshine. Josephine came all the way from Hong Kong with her blind dad, George Taufer, and a Filipina helper. Her dad needed an eye doctor, and Rizal was famous for being a great one. So they went to the Pitan to see him. Rizal and Josephine fell in love super fast. It was like love at first sight. After just a month, they wanted to get married, but her dad didn't like that they were rushing into things. Also, the priest in the Pitan, Father Obak, wouldn't marry them without permission from a higher up in the church. So Josephine's dad went back to Hong Kong without getting better. Since they couldn't get married in church, Rizal and Josephine promised to love each other in their own way, in front of God. But the priest was not happy about that. Later, Josephine got pregnant, which was wonderful news, but sadly, she gave birth too early, and their baby boy only lived for 3 hours. They named him Francisco after Rizal's father and buried him in Dapitan. Even though Rizal and Josephine faced some tough times, Rizal's love story is a beautiful part of Rizal's life. And that's all for my part. Thank you.
And now we're going to explain the Rizal trial and imprisonment. After being arrested, Rizal was shipped back to the Philippines to face trial. On November 2, 1896, his diary was returned to him, but attempts by his friends in Europe and Singapore to free him but failed because the ship Colon was a Spanish warship. The next day, November 3, 1896, he arrived in Manila and was imprisoned in Fort Santiago. Spanish authority also arrested several patriots, and his brother, Paciano, was tortured but still refused to implicate Rizal. By November 20, 1896, Rizal trial officially began. The Spanish authorities used different documents and writings against him as evidence. This included letters, poems, and speeches, and even works of other patriots, and linked him to the propaganda movement and the reformer campaign in Spain. They accused him of criticizing Spanish rule and inspiring Filipinos to resist tyranny. On November 26, 1896, the case was forwarded to higher official. Rizal was not forgiven as civilian lawyer but instead was defended by Luis Travel de Agredi, the brother of his former bodyguard. By December 11, 1896, he was formally charged with rebellion, sedition, and illegal association. A few days later, Governor General Ramon Blanco was replaced by the stricter Camilo Pulave, making Rizal's situation worse. On December 15, 1896, Rizal tried to appeal to the people by writing a manifesto, asking Filipino to stop violence and instead push for reform peacefully. Unfortunately, the authorities suppressed this. Ya sila mo agree. During his last Christmas on December 25, 1896, he admitted to her lawyer that his case was hopeless. Finally, on December 26, 1896, his court-martial was held at Cuartel de España, where he was judged by a military court of 7 officers, sealing his fate. In short, Rizal's trial was unfair and biased, as the Spanish government already saw him as a threat. They used his writings and patriotic influence as a proof of rebellion, even though he consisted push of reform through peaceful means. Thank you.